Right, so today we're going to tackle building AI agents, specifically AI agents in Microsoft CoPilot Studio. All right, why build a Copilot agent? Well, many businesses, especially those in financial services and insurance and even mom and pop shops, often run tight margins and even tighter staffing. Right, when somebody calls in sick or you get an unexpected surge of customer and volumes, chaos usually ensues. All right, so some of the core problems that we've found Copilot agent and agents are really helping solve is overwhelmed staff. All right, so overwhelmed staff are usually taking multiple queries, answering basic questions around hours, location, services, rather than actually providing the service to the customers that generates value. All right, it also solves missed opportunities. So every call that potentially goes unanswered during a rush is potentially lost revenue, or customer experience may be inconsistent. So a stressed out team might sound less welcoming than a patient purpose-built agent. We've also obviously looked at things like inefficiency, so repeating the same information over and over and over again, like what's the product name, where are you located? It steals valuable time from your team. All right, the Copilot agent solution is really just something around a dedicated, tireless virtual front of house employee. It could even be back office employee. But basically what it can do is it can answer those frequently asked questions instantly using your provided knowledge. It can take customers accurately through a guided conversation, handle multiple interactions simultaneously, and it operates 24/7, right? So basic inquiries, whenever you're closed, it can ultimately help your business keep running. Right, it also frees up your human staff to focus on real value like quality control and in-person customer service. Right, where's the business impact and return on investment by building and using agents? Well, implementing a Copilot agent isn't just fancy tech, it's actually a very smart business move. All right, it increases efficiency, so drastically reduces the time spent by staff on repetitive tasks. It improves your customer experience. Customers get the instant response with a clear, consistent process. No more busy signals or long hold times for very simple questions. All right, it also reduces errors. Standardized questions minimize mistakes, services, questions, facts, etc. There's also a potential for increased sales, right? So it captures orders that might have been abandoned due to frustration or inability to get through. It handles after-hour inquiries that could lead to future orders. And scalability, it handles peak times without needing extra humans on the line. All right, it also has cost savings, right? So while there's a licensing cost, Microsoft Copilot and related licenses do have a cost associated with it, but compare it to the cost of hiring dedicated staff just for taking orders or just for doing some admin, the efficiency gains often provide a massive or rapid ROI on those costs. So what we're going to be doing today is working through an end-to-end tutorial on how to build Copilot agents using Microsoft Studio. All right, so the scenario that we're going to be building out today is really to get the technical components going in a fictitious example, and it's going to be Smokey Joe's barbecue needs a hand. All right, so let's pretend Joe, the owner of Smokey Joe's, he knows how to cook a good barbecue, but lately all he's doing is answering a phone call. He's got a very small team, he struggles during lunch and dinner rushes, and he needs a way for customers to easily place or pick up orders without having to tie up his team's time. Right, so the goal of the Copilot is ultimately going to be answer basic questions about Smokey Joe's, the hours, the locations, guide customers through placing an order, determine if the order is for pickup, confirm the order, and then email the order. All right, and we're going to basically walk you through an exact step-by-step guide of how you're going to get going with Copilot and building up your agents, and give you the detailed information on how to set things up. If you need more professional services, reach out to me and we can look to help you out. All right, so if you don't already have a Microsoft 365 account, then you can go in and try this for free. So that's what we're going to be doing now. Just walk you through the full end-to-end of it. And if you've already got it, then you can skip ahead to the next part. If you've already got it, you can just go to copilotstudio.microsoft.com in your browser, and it'll ask you to sign in. So let's just pop that in over here, and it'll ask you for a login. All right, so it'll ask you to log in over here. So let's go and sign up. So if you haven't got Microsoft Copilot Studio, let's just go try it for free. All right, so once you've signed up, you'll be presented with something that looks a little bit like this. Choose your region and it's say get started, and it'll basically give you a little wizard. We're just going to go skip for the time being. What we're going to do now is just have a look at what the landing page shows us. So, hello, I'm here to help you build an agent so you can get more done. You can type your message in over here. Or you can click on skip to configure, or you can click on create. We're gonna not do any of that. We're actually going to go in and ask it, saying, let's go pop in our fictitious company, and we're going to just pop in here. We own a barbecue shop called Smoky Joe's. We want to build a CoPilot agent to handle new orders. Customers can choose their main meats, their sides, their sauce. They also specify pickup. The order is then emailed to our kitchen. All right, so this is what we want the agent to create for us. So again, very explicit, and basically going to give it information that we want. All right, so that's great, and let's hit enter. All right, what it's going to ask now is it's going to basically prompt you to fill in the details as the wizard goes along. So again, natural language wizard, and it's great. So on this right-hand side over here, is basically going to give you a summary of what this agent is going to do and how it's going to be built up. All right. Determine a name for the agent. Please confirm if this name works for you. So we want Smoky Joe's Order Assistant. That's great. Yes. All right. So now let's refine the instructions for Smoky Joe's Order Assistant. Firstly, let's define what the agent should do. For example, the agent should help place orders by selecting the main meat size. The order then should be emailed to the kitchen. Can you provide more details or confirm this? We can just say that that's perfectly fine. So we can say confirm. All right, so next, let's define any limitations or boundaries. For example, the agent should not handle any customer complaints or feedback. Only order placements. That's correct. Correct. Any complaints or feedback should go to a manual operator. All right, what we can do is just confirm that. So we can say confirm. Obviously, if you wanted to go to a manual queue or to a different email address or something like that, you can now just start entering that here, and it'll start building up the workflows in the background. All right, now let's move on to the next step. So would you like to add any publicly accessible websites? Well, no, because this is a fictitious barbecue shop. So let's just go no. We'll add our own knowledge base in a minute. All right, here it says, Smoky Joe's Order Assistant is now set up. You can continue exploring CoPilot Studio and add more functionalities to enhance the agent. If you have any further refinements or changes to make, feel free to let me know. All right, excellent. So what it's done now is it's basically created a Smoky Joe's Order Assistant, which you can see on the top left-hand side over here. And let's click on the Create button on the top right-hand side because the basic agent framework is now ready. So let's just go Create. So we're going to be setting up the agent. All right, so what we've got now is an agent that you can start looking at. And this over here is really the canvas where you can start customizing it and fine-tuning what your agent is really going to be doing and how it's going to be working. All right, so what we want to do is let's start adding some basic information to our agent so that it knows who we are and what we're actually talking about. All right, so if you scroll down over here, you can see the details of the actual agent. The user orchestration to determine how best to respond to users and events. We've disabled that because we want to actually let the system do it based on our way of the workflow and our workflow knowledge. This over here is really about grounding it and using retrieval augmented generative AI to actually improve what our context is. So it's going to come up with some random stuff if you enable this. So let's just go disable that. All right, and yes, that's correct. And we wanted to only use the default knowledge that we have got going to provide. All right, so that's great. So we can click on the add knowledge. All right, so crucially, we need to make sure that that's disabled or else it's going to come up with some funky stuff. So adding knowledge to a chatbot is crucial and fundamental to actually making it behave and act factually towards your business. So if you click on the add knowledge, what you're going to notice is there's going to be a number of different types of knowledge bases that you can use and select. All right, so you got public websites, all right, so you can go in and fetch information from a public site or your own website for real-time answers. So it'll basically index and scan your website for any information. So if you've got your menus or your services and products on there, it'll look at that. If you've got a SharePoint site and any lists and any documents, it'll start looking at that. And then in Dataverse is another option at the moment as well. If you click on Advanced, there's a couple of different other ones. So you can start looking at Azure, SQL, and even Salesforce data. So again, these are beyond the scope of this particular demo, but again, feel free to play around with it. Right, so what we're going to do is not do any of that. We're just going to drop a file in over here. So let's go in and find our Word document that we've created. That's ultimately going to be our knowledge base on who we are, what we sell, and some of the services that we offer. Right, so what we're going to do is pop this knowledge base in. I'll just quickly show you what I've created here in Word. I didn't create this. I popped this into Copilot or Gemini, and it basically gave me a bit of a rundown over here. So this is the menu where you can find us: opening hours, delivery, pickup, payment, etc., and a little bit of information around Smokey Joe. So this is going to be our knowledge base, and this is literally as simple as it needs to be. If you want it to be more complex, then you can obviously add multiple knowledge bases, but we'll just pop that over to the side for a secchi, and let's go in and upload that particular file. All right, so let's put in a description over here. Let's just go, this document, or this contains information about the menu, the location, pickup, and delivery. All right, and what we can do now is click on add. All right, so it's going to upload the file. Do not close the window or the browser, because what it needs to do now is take that information and index it. So I'm going to push pause over here. This does take a little bit of time. Okay, so what we can see over here is the file has been uploaded, so smokeyjoe.docx, but what we need to do is just double check that it's been indexed. And the way you would check that it's been indexed and actually available in the system is by clicking knowledge over here on the top, and you'll see over here the files that you've uploaded, and it'll say what the status is, and it says unknown. So what I'm going to do is just can click on the refresh now, and basically just wait for it to ultimately be ingested fully. So I'm going to push pause over here and wait for it. It does take a little bit of time. It varies, so I can't even give you an absolute. The knowledge has been uploaded. You'll see something that says ready over here. All right, it took around 50 minutes to upload, which is about normal. So depending on how large your file is, that's how long it takes to index. All right, so let's just go back into our overview. And on the right-hand side, what you're going to notice is a test your agent. All right, so once it's been uploaded, let's just ask it a question. Is there delivery? And let's just do that. All right, so now it's answered the question. Yes, delivery is available at Smokey Joe's Barbecue. All right, you can just say here, what is your address? Right, and it's basically referring and referencing the information in the document. So as you can see, it's working correctly at this stage. Now we know that it's retrieving our information from our knowledge base, and that's really great. So what we're going to do now is move on to the next stage, and let's start customizing our system topics and make it less sort of robotic, because as you can see, it says, hello, I'm Smokey Joe's virtual assistant. And again, it's just not very user friendly and not something that you would say to a customer. All right, so let's go in and start customizing. So what we're going to do now is work on our flows. So really what Microsoft CoPilot and agent building is really around conversations. All right, so what are the questions and what are the answers that you would like to direct your people or your users to achieve a certain goal? And pretty much everything is conversational, and it can be grounded in knowledge, and ultimately topics are the ways that you would guide the conversation the way you want to from within the chatbot. So let's go and have a look over here at topics. All right, so here's all the default system topics, and what we can go is all, and you'll notice over here conversation start, conversation boosting, end of conversation, etc. So these are all the default ones. So as soon as somebody types in a question or a phrase that matches one of these topics, it'll invoke a flow or an action. All right, so let's just go quickly look at the conversational boosting. All right, so this is for anything that is an unknown topic, and this is really where the retrieval augmented comes in. If you remember, earlier we added our data source, which was our Word document. So if we just click on this over here, all right, you can see over here Smokey Joe and our document over here. So if it doesn't have the answer and you require it to respond, you can add in a data source over here. So this over here is where you would find all your data sources. You can add in extra knowledge bases, you can add in websites, you can add in all types of information. So this is how you would go in and edit it. All right, so let's go back to our all over here, and you can see at the moment hello, I'm Smokey Joe's order assistant, and we wanted to try and change this. So the best way to change that, going back to the conversation start, click on it, it'll automatically open up the topic, and on the conversation start, that's the trigger, and here is the actual text that you're going to be seeing on the chat bot itself. So hello, I'm the bot name. I'm here to help you order scrumptious barbecue takeaways. I use AI and sometimes get this wrong. All right, let's get rid of that because we don't want to tell our customers that we can get it wrong. And what we can do now is click on save. So that's really how easy it is to change a workflow or topic and just add in some bits and bobs that you would like. All right, if we click on refresh our agent on the right hand side over here, it should now show you everything. I am here to take your orders, and we've now removed the AI issue. All right, so that's really cool. But now that doesn't really help us. So we want to actually start building something for our customers to actually place an order with us. So the basic flow of a conversation, if you think about ordering something from a takeaway restaurant, is do you want to collect it? Do you want to deliver it? They obviously ask you for what do you want to order. You want to order ribs, pork belly, or brisket. They usually ask you what type of sauces that you would like, and any sort of fries or sides that you are looking for. They then ask you to confirm it, and then ultimately they ask you for your name. And what we're going to do is now build up a custom topic and workflow for this. So I'll show you exactly how to do that using conditions and using some code that's going to be generated by CoPilot for us. So this is a low code, no code experience, and I'll show you how to get the best out of this. So let's get going with creating our own custom topic to guide our customers into ordering the item. All right, so what you do is go add topic, go from blank, and you will see over here the trigger is going to be the first part of it. All right, so once the customer has come into the chat or to the agent, they're going to ask it certain questions, right? So let's go and start it off with phrases. So if the customer starts the conversation off with the word order, or the word barbecue order, or the word place order, or a word like can I order. Okay, so these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's enough for now. I think you can add in as many phrases as you'd like to just start going. So this is what the customer would normally type in as they hit the agent. All right, so that's great. Let's click on save. Let's call our topic. We can call this a barbecue ordering service. Okay. All right, so now what we've got over here is the trigger. So as the customer comes in, they're going to ask a question like order. Okay, and what we can do is test the agent and click on enter. And now what it should do is kick off. All right, so we now tested it, and now we know that that's actually not going to fail anyway. So what we're going to do now is we really want to ask the next question. Do you want to order for delivery, or do you want to order to collect? So let's go add a node, and we're going to ask a question. All right, All right, the message that we're going to pop in over here is love to help you order. Do you wish to collect or deliver? All right, so what we're going to do over here is great. We would love to help you order. Do you wish to collect or deliver? All right, under the identifier, we're going to look for an entity for multiple choice. All right, so multiple choice allows the customer to choose between the collect or deliver, and we're going to pop in here options for the user. So the first one is going to be a collect, all right, as the option, and the next one is going to be deliver. All right, and hit enter. All right, save the user response as a variable. All right, so variables, naming conventions, and good governance are super critical in understanding your workflow and ultimately for people that need to maintain and manage it afterwards. So this is an absolutely crucial thing that you get right up front. If you need help with this, reach out to the good folks at levlup.ai and we will be able to help you with training and ultimately building some of these agents for you. All right, so let's go and make sure that the variable over here is named appropriately. So we're going to call this order type. All right, so that's the order type. It's going to be a choice and it's going to be limited in scope. All right, so let's click on save. All right, so now what we can see over here is we can just go refresh our agent on the right hand side over here, and let's just ask it again. So let's go order. It should now ask us the question. Great, we would love to help you order. Do you wish to collect or deliver? And now you can see the two options are available. So if we hit collect, it'll obviously now go into the next workflow. So really easy, really simple to add questions to guide our customers in the right way. All right, but now this is really not going to ultimately help a customer. We now need to build up our menu and build up our options for our customers. Once we've basically asked the user for collect or for deliver, we now need to go and create a condition, right? So if they click on collect, we need to ask them a set of questions. If they want to do deliver, we need to ask them where they live. All right, so let's go click on add a node, and we can go add a condition. All right. So select the variable that you want to associate with this condition. All right, so the variable that we have is the order type, and we click on that. If the order type is equal to, and we're going to go and type in collect. All right. All right, so once they've selected the collection, we want to add another node, and we want to ask them another question. And the question is really going to be, what time would you like to collect it? So what date and time would you like to collect? All right, and again, now what we can do is look for an entity over here, and there's multiple entities that we can look for over here. If we scroll down, you can look for a date and a time, and or just a date. All right, so let's just hit date and time, and we're going to save the variable again. So we're going to go collect time. Okay, let's save. So as you can see, nice and easy, nice and sort of simple to create these workflows. A little bit of planning up front will go a long way. All right, so you would think intuitively you click over here to add a node, but what we'd really want to do is add a condition over here. All right, so we're starting with our collect or deliver, and we want to go and add the condition. All right, so select our variable. We want to order variable. We want to order that. Okay, if it's equal to deliver. All right, what do we want to do? We want to go and ask for the address. So let's click on add node, ask a question, and then just say, what is your delivery address? All right, if we click on our entity, we will see an option here for a address. Okay, and hit enter on that one. Let's save the variable over here. So again, really good naming conventions. It just makes your life easier in the long run. Okay, if you've ever done any programming, you would know that if you put in V1, V2, V3, it is extremely painful to try and trace back what is going on. All right, so now we've got our two conditions. So if it's equal to collecting, or if it's equal to delivery, what are we going to basically collect from the customer? All right, let's test that out. All right, so let's go refresh over here. And again, we're going to go through our sequence. All right, so we want to go and order. It's going to ask us, what do we wish to do, collect or deliver? So let's go collect. All right, what date and time would you like to collect? And we can type in today. All right, so now we can go and pop in that one over there, and it's now collected it over there. And we can do the same for the delivery address. So we just basically restart this over here. All right, so now what we want to do is go and say, all right, what do you want to order? As you know, we've got a couple of items on our menu. If you take a look over here, you can see what we've got on our menus. We've got ribs, pulled pork, brisket, sauces, and fries. Wow, how much fun is that? All right, so now we're going to ask our customer to choose one of these over here. And what we're going to be looking at is something called an adaptive card. All right, so an adaptive card is really just a way to get more information from a customer in one fell swoop instead of asking multiple questions. All right, so let's just go add a node, and we're going to go ask with an adaptive card. All right, if we do that, you'll see the adaptive card come up over here, and we are going to see something like this. All right, so what do we want to do now is use this adaptive card over here to ask questions for our customers. All right, you can click on the edit adaptive card, and what it's going to do is it's going to bring up a window that looks similar to this. This is changing at the moment, but as you can see over here, there's some JSON code, and I don't know about you, but typing up JSON for version or for a menu is probably not something that I would like to do. So how about we go into CoPilot Studio, and we go in and ask it to create us an adaptive card for the barbecue shop. The first question is, what do they want to order? The choices are ribs, pork, or brisket. The second is, what sauces do they want? It's going to be barbecue sauce, special recipe. And then the third question is, how large the portion size? Choice is small, medium, and large. All right, and let's hit enter on that. Okay, so it's basically given us the JSON file over here, adaptive card version 1.2, and it's basically looking at the information over here. So let's go and copy all of this, and let's go into our item over here, and we can go in and paste. All right, you can see over here on the left hand side or on the top of the screen what it's going to look like. So what would you like to order? Ribs, pulled pork, or brisket? What sauce would you like, and how large is the portion, with a submit button? How absolutely fantastic was that? All right, so let's hit save, and then what we can do is go and close. All right, so as you can see now, our adaptive card is looking pretty fantastic. All right, it's already created some items over here for the order choice, the portion choice, and the sauce choice. So it's created some nice variables for us, and that is great. You can go in and change those variables if you would like. All right, so what we can do now is go in and test this out. So let's hit the save button over here, and let's go and refresh our agent on the right hand side. And I recommend iteratively testing like this because it'll ultimately just confirm your workflow. So let's click on order. What do we want to do? We want to collect. All right, what date and time? Today, 11 a.m. All right, so welcome to our barbecue shop. Now it's going to ask us, what would you like to order? Let's order some ribs. We want some barbecue sauce. And how large do we want? We want a large item over here. All right, and let's hit submit. Okay, so as you can see, it's now created a beautiful menu for our customer to ultimately guide them in the direction that we would like. All right, that's great. Now, once that's been done, what happens if they made a mistake? How do we go back? All right, so going back is really around just asking a question to confirm that they've ordered correctly. And then if they haven't, you can send them back to the top and ultimately let them re-enter the information. All right, so let's do that now. So let's go add a node. We're going to go ask a question. All right, we want to ask the question, is this order correct? All right, so we're going to say here, what have you ordered? Barbecue, the sauce, and the portion. Is this correct? It's going to be a multiple choice option. And what we can do over here is options are going to be yes or no. All right, and enter. But first, what we want to do over here is just make sure that we play back exactly what they've selected. So you'll see insert a variable, and you can now go in and choose what they've selected over here. So the order choice is what they've asked for. Let's go and add what sauce they've looked for. And let's look for the portion size. Okay, so order choice, source choice, and the portion choice. Is this correct? The user is now going to get an option, yes or no. And what we want to do is save the response as confirm order. So let's just go here. All right, so we're going to call this v order verified. Okay, and hit save. All right, so as you can see, our workflow is starting to take shape quite nicely. So we've got the conditions, we're coming in, and we are ultimately building out our workflow for our customers. All right, that's great. So now once the person has selected yes or no, we want to give them we want to redirect them to a new condition. So if it's no, we want to send them back to reordering. So I'll show you how to do that. All right, so now what we want to do is, again, you guessed it, add in a condition. So what do we want to do when they say yes, and what do we want to do when they say no? All right, so let's click on that. We want to go add a condition. All right, so if they select the order verified is equal to yes. All right, great. And now we want to do if it's no. All right. All right, so we want to go back to order verified. If it's equal to no, what do we want to do? Right, what we want to do is ultimately send them back to the adaptive card over here. So really easy to do that. So we want to click on this little add node. All right. All right, so what we want to do is go to topic management and then go to step. And now we can go and select the step that we would like to go to. So we want to just go up here and we want to click on this adaptive card. All right, great. And what you will see now is it's now going to the step for the adaptive card. And what we can do is hit save. So let's just test this out and see if it works. All right, so let's refresh our agent. All right, let's just go order. We want to deliver. All right. All right, what would we like? We would like some ribs with some barbecue sauce and a medium size. Let's hit submit. All right, so to confirm, you have ordered ribs, barbecue sauce, medium. Is this correct? And we can say yes or no. So let's just say no, and we want to see if it takes us back to our reordering, and it has exactly done that. So that is perfect. That's exactly the way we wanted it, and I'm happy with those conditions and those flows. So excellent. All right, so what do we now need to do? So once they've confirmed their order and they're happy with it, what is the next step? All right, so once they've done that, then the next logical question is for us to ask for their contact details so that we can get that order going. All right, so if you wanted to add in pricing, that's out of the scope for this particular video, but you would do that using SharePoint lists or database lists and a bit of smarts and calculations. It's out of scope for this video. If you'd like more information on how to get that going, reach out to me and we can work out something from our professional services. Okay, so what we'll do now is we want to go in and basically ask the customer what their name is and their telephone number, for example, just some more information just to verify and validate that order. So let's go ask a question, and we can say here, what is your name for the order? This looks scrumptious. All right, so that's great. And we're going to go and put in an entity over here, and we'll probably find an entity that's already been pre-populated for us. So we can pop in here the person's name. Okay. And if you wanted to add in a email address, you could ask for the email address, but let's just leave the name for just do the name for the moment. All right, let's pop in the variable name. So v name of customer, and it's a string, and we're happy with the string, and let's just hit save. All right, so once we've got the person's name, we usually want that information to go to somebody, right? It's no point just going in here and it sort of stops. So we normally want to send an email, or you want to write it to a CRM or a database or something to that effect. Okay, so now we've got the name of our customer, but what do we want to do with this information? Well, we can write it to a database, we can write it to an Excel spreadsheet, we can write it to a CRM system, but let's just do something really basic for the time being and write it to an email. All right, so writing it to an email has got a couple of ways we can do that. We can go add an action, and if you go into connect to preview, you'll see something called send a mail. All right, so if we click on send a mail, it's basically going to ask us to create a connection, and we can basically select this one over here and submit. And what it will do now is it will ultimately ask us to pop in some variables and who we want to send the email to, how to send the email, and all of those good things. All right, but what we're not going to use this one over here because it's still a little bit buggy. So let's just get rid of this for the time being. I'm sure in time it's going to be working perfectly, but let's just go delete. And what we're going to do now is use a Microsoft Power Automate to get some more flexibility and to get some more actions that we can get out of it. So sometimes you want to send an email, you want to also write it to a database, and you also want to write it to a customer service log, for example. All right, so using Power Automate, you can now start adding more actions to your agent. All right, and that's really where some of the powerful stuff starts going in. All right, you can add it also into your invoicing system as well. And we can click on add a node. We want to go add an action, and we want to create a new agent flow. All right, so let's click on that. Do we want to leave? Or let's just don't leave. Let's click on save first. Let's come down and let's go back over here and add an action, new agent flow. All right, so here's the designer. All right, so when an agent calls the flow, respond to the agent. All right, so this over here is going to be really, really powerful to try and get things to go in the direction that you want. Okay, so our canvas is going to look like this, and what we want to do is when an agent calls the flow, all right, let's just rename this to send an email. All right, so parameters. So what are the parameters that we want to input? All right, so we want to add in an input. So let's just add in a couple of texts over here. So the order type. So that's going to be whether it's for collection or for stuff. The order choice. Okay, so that's going to be what they ordered, the pork or the barbecue, ribs or whatever. Let's go here. The sauces. And then we're going to do the size, the portion size. And what else do we need? All right, and then the next one over here, we can pop in the name. That looks good. All right, so what we want to do now is click on an action that we want to do. So we can now select an action over here, so we can see there's a number of things that have been created for us. So let's just type in mail. All right, you can do that one over there, or you can use the 0365, so send an email. All right, so let's click on that. All right, so once you've, okay, so right, so sign into the account, and what it's going to now ask you to do is you can pop in a person's name. All right, so let's go Tyrone at levlup.ai. All right, the subject is going to be new order. All right, so we want to pop in the subject of here's new order, and let's put in the person's name. So let's click on this over here, enter from a previous step. we'll enter a expression. So let's just click on that, and we can now see here our variables. So let's go name. All right, excellent. All right, customer, and then we can pop in the name again. Has ordered for, we can do collection or delivery. They would like, and let's pop in what they've ordered for us. So the order choice, the portion size, as well as the source. Okay, so that's great. Okay, so now you can obviously show all the other things over here. You want to send an attachment, you want to reply, you want to CC, etc. If you want to CC the customer, if they've given you the email address, you can do that. So really simple, really easy interface to work with. All right, so now let's click on respond to agent. All right, and now this is where we're going to pass back the information that it's successful back to our Copilot agent. So really cool and really powerful. Okay, so we now need to add a parameter. Let's just go output, and what do we want to respond with? We can just say thanks for the order. Chef has it on hand. Okay, so that's great. And now what's basically going to happen is send an email. We're going to send an email with the details that we've popped in, and we're going to respond to the agent saying thanks for the order. The agent is obviously the agent that we've created. All right, so I'm pretty happy with all of this. It looks like it works. So let's just go save, and we can publish it. All right, you can stay in the flow over here or go back to our agent. So let's go back to our agent. All right, so now we've basically got the action over here, which we've created in our Power Automate inputs. All right, so now what we need to do is just go and fill in our variables. All right, so let's go in and fill in the order types over here. So let's go order type. All right, order choice. We want to pop in our sources. We want to put in our portion size, and we want to pop in the name. All right, so where's the name of the customer? All right, excellent. So that's all now. Variable order type is of incorrect type, embedded option set. All right, so we need to just go in and change this over here. Okay, so it's a little bit fiddly to pop in a formula, but with a little bit of practice, you'll get used to it. So what we want to do is we want to go topic dot and then the variable name. So it's going to be the order type and then dot value. Okay, so if it's dot value, it automatically means it converts it to a string. All right, and then go insert, and you can now see that there's no more errors. So once you've done that and you've checked it and there's no errors, it can be a bit fiddly, and I apologize if it doesn't work for you. But what we can do now is go in and start testing it. Refresh our agent, and what we can do now is say order. It's going to ask us, would we like to collect or deliver? So let's just go deliver, pop in our address. You can obviously link this up to now some more advanced smarts. Now you can go welcome to our shop. Let's choose ribs, barbecue, small size, hit submit. It's going to ask us to confirm that. Is it correct? Yes. All right, what's the name? Let's just go Thai. All right, and additional permissions are required to run this action. Please proceed to connect. All right, so we can connect it. So this is now just trying to obviously connect up our email system. So this will happen the first time. All right, I'm not going to show you all the details of how to connect it, but all right, and here is the email that has just come through. So that looks great. Well done. All right, then what we can finally do is we can send a message to say thank you for the order. All right, so thank you for the order. And we can pop in a variable over here, such as the person's name. On its way. All right, great. So that's basically the full workflow now. We can hit save. And obviously we want to recommend testing it because that's ultimately how you know it's going to work. But now what you want to do is once you've tested it, you're happy with it, you can now start going into publishing it. All right, so let's first go into your settings and go to security. And if you want to enable it for your public website over here, you can go no authentication and you can click on save. Or if you want it for internal, you'd put in authenticate with Microsoft or insert authenticate manually. All right, so that's how you would do it. All right, and then you can let's just go no authentication for the time being. Let's just go save. All right, now we can go back to publishing. So let's go back to our agent, Smokey Joe. And we can hit the publish button over here. All right, so publishing this agent. All right, there's some risks that should be reviewed. All right, so you can just say that and you can hit publish. And then once the publish button has been selected, you'll be able to see the link. Right, so this is where the real power comes in as well. So you can take this agent and now you can start embedding it into different applications over here. So you've got Microsoft Teams, you've got a website if you wanted to do it in, a custom website, mobile app, Skype, Slack, etc. So again, really powerful options over here. You may need to upgrade licenses or get different connectivity. That's out of the scope of this video. Right, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been an end-to-end tutorial of how to create your agents, how to build workflows from end to end, and ultimately publishing your custom AI agent. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, pass it on, reach out to us for professional services, and look forward to catching up with you soon. Thank you for watching.